Oh, yeah.
Hello, hello. Bliss and love, my lords. Can you hear me, Nick?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man, loud and clear.
Nice one. That song was dope. That was great.
That was Skrilla, man. Shout out Riz Skrilla. He makes some dope beats. He's a good DJ, man. That's why he's DJ Pepe.
Nice.
How you doing?
Nice. Yeah, good. Chilling. Just in Bangkok, 6 p.m. here. I'm at a cannabis cafe, just chilling. They gave me the upstairs, so it's kind of reduced the noise. Apologies if it gets rowdy in the background. I'm trying to keep it quiet.
There's no problem, man. It's like midnight here, and I'm currently crashing at my mum's place, and I'm in the kitchen trying to keep nice and quiet too. So,
Word. Word.
Thailand is in my list for next destinations.
Nice.
I would love
Nice.
a cannabis cafe in Bangkok. Sounds like something else, man.
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
since they made cannabis legal, I really want to go now.
Yeah, it's crazy how many have popped up since June, and it hasn't been that long. And it's like it's just exponential, like it's nuts. I have a
Didn't
map.
they,
I can share the map later. It's like all the cannabis cafes, like on Google Maps. You can share it.
Didn't they send out house plants to everybody once they got legalized?
They did, yeah. But I mean, now everyone thinks they're a grower, but I mean, it's a bit harder than it seems, right? Like, that didn't really work for everyone, but you're trying to really like kind of change the stigma, and I think it's cool because they're moving like more locally and trying to keep it in the farmers and not really to rely on the U.S. or other external ones. So it's good for everyone here, actually. Yeah,
Definitely. I mean, I've been traveled through California a wee bit, and there's a booming industry there. And then I come back home to New Zealand where it's still not legal, and it's like I can just see how easy it will be for business to come across as soon as it is legalized. But it's good to have like people. I mean, there are people in this country who are for sure growing it themselves, and they know what they're doing. You know, like it's good to have some growth from within though, and not have to rely upon trade from external sources. I think.
For sure. Yeah. So
To be self-sufficient, essentially, is the goal.
Yeah. But you guys, if everyone's welcome. If you're ever in, I've been here for quite a while. I'm in Bangkok. If you're ever passing through, hit me up.
Yeah, so you're born in the US, right?
That's right. Yeah, born in the US.
But I've been to Thailand. I think you said 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years ago, and I've been abroad for about 15 now. Like, yeah, Thailand's pretty much home for now, though.
And I mean, before you were an artist, you are an educator, aren't you?
Yeah. So I've been in international education for quite some time. I worked in Mozambique, in Southern Africa for a while. And that was really cool. And then got an opportunity to go to Laos and Phuket, Korea, and Hanoi. I met my wife in Hanoi, actually, and then we kind of, settled in Thailand. So yeah, it's just international educator by trade. More recently, I took on a project with like a small team to kind of start a school. So we're like a small, well, not really small. We're a startup, and I don't know if anyone's been to Thailand and rode the public transport, but the Sky Train, like the BTS, like they're like the investors for this little project, and it's it's all right, but it's pretty volatile. But it's got me out of the classroom and into like more of like a different vantage point of international education, like connecting with partnerships and trying to find ways to kind of keep your finger on the pulse of like what education could be, because I mean, it's kind of know it's changing. And so I don't know, we took a lot of influence from like certain people, like what Elon Musk is doing in California. He has a school called like Astra School, and we're just trying something, and it's cool. It's very different, but it's cute, still educator. And DGen by like moonlighting.
Yeah, is it Web3 learning for kids is what you're doing essentially? Or?
That's right, man. They're helping me with traits and teaching me,
It's actually pretty mental because I've worked in finance a lot, and I've worked for a lot of startup businesses, and the word is always disruption, right? Like these people are disrupting the financial industry, or they're disrupting the whatever it might be, but disrupting the education industry is not one that people have been contemplating, I don't think, but it's coming, and it's going to come so fast that like I can't even get across to people in real life like how real this is, what we're doing. but it's gonna
Yeah.
have it's gonna send shockwaves.
Oh, for sure. Like it'll just change quickly. Like when everyone had to like go remote, and they're like, "What the fuck?" And you just had to adapt. So I think there's some interesting ways that it could go, but it's hard, right? There's a reason why education's always last to do everything. It's like they say like big ships are slow to turn, right? Because it's not as agile,
Mm-hmm.
It's more institutionalized. It's like the banks in itself, right? Or like healthcare, right? In the States,
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's hard to really battle that machine. But there are pockets, and that's all you can keep doing is kind of find incremental ways to make change.
But it's the startups that are going to do it, right? It's the bright people with bright ideas, and I think you are incredibly bright. And I love talking to you. I love reading your writing. I write obviously for Redline now, and I hope that I can sort of continue. But I've read some of your stuff. You got a few different websites, Conscious Classroom and Conscious Concepts, and you're doing podcasts as well. You're doing lots, man.
Yeah, keep him busy, man. Because I'm inspired by a lot of people here. Like you're like one of them. Like thinking about and cheers for all the compliments, right? But thinking about how everyone just kind of helped each other out. Like when we first got to talking about HODLPET, and then later on you're like, yo, check out this course, from the University of Nicosia. You only got a couple more hours to mint. And I don't know, those little kind of nudges along the way where we helped each other is kind of what inspires me to document it. So I write about it, right? Or I'll record it and do a podcast and stuff just to kind of preserve it, but also to remember that this all works because we're all helping each other. And a lot of people kind of forget that when they get really competitive and when the money and liquidity starts to come back in.
Yeah, there are certainly different types of people in our marketplace, aren't there? I think in talking to Redline, and what he wants to do with this magazine, I am so excited about what can be built as long as we're all on the same page, and I've jumped in there and put my hand up and said, put me in as permanent, because I would happily stick around here and help, because it's a cool team. And when you introduced me to that HODLPET, and I was begging to get in, and then it turns out the next dispenser sat for so long, and we've all been waiting, and there's been drama in the group and stuff, but it's right. All in good fun, and it's a learning experience. And you have mentioned the Pepe learning experience, or perhaps the professional learning network turned Pepe learning network. So I definitely want you to tell us a little bit about that and how that all blends in.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So just understanding the power of networks after moving abroad from time to time. I spent some time in Africa, I spent some time in Southeast Asia, and you don't want to lose those friends, so you have to keep in touch with them digitally, and then that's how you get to understand how to leverage your network. If you need something from somebody over there, you can call on them, and that really helps as an educator. But it's also super useful when you're dealing with Web3, because it's the same principles, right? That's what kind of Discord groups are, or have were originally started for, and that's what a lot of these great Telegram groups are. So I don't know. I think the PLN, or the Professional Learning Network, is just kind of, I guess we've already seen it on Twitter, right? It's those apps where you say who's in your circle, right? Who's in the middle, and then who's all the rings around you. We all do it, and we all have those people, and they have an impact on us. And so I think leaning into that is kind of something that I don't know, we as a movement need to kind of embrace more, instead of sometimes cannibalizing one another, or saying this is art and this is cartoon picture. You know what I mean? I think there's room for growth in that regard of understanding that if you want to go farther, go together, But I do other things for that reason. But I think it was just I wrote about education for a long time, but I think what's happening here is we have these crossroads between art and innovation, where we are in the NFT space right now. And then I think that's in education will catch up with it, just like everything, just because it's the last to be disrupted, it'll be the laggard, or the lagging indicator. So I think if I do some stuff now, I can bring it and bridge it eventually. But they're not ready yet. So you have to run those roads parallel. And that's just my opinion. Yeah. So again, I just documented to kind of prove of work, right? That you're still around.
Nice. I like that a lot. Proof of work, man. That is what we're doing. It's putting your name on something and time stamping it and saying I was here.
Yeah.
When you were a kid and used to write I would put Corbin was here 2005 or whatever, 1990 something. you just write that year that you were there, so you come back and remember that moment, and we can now do that. Like, and
and Red
you
Lion's
definitely-
doing that, right? Like, absolutely. That's what's
yeah,
cool about
exactly,
it. Like,
exactly. Like
it's
2
so
years,
dope.
man. They've been doing this.
Yeah.
I'm new. I think you're. I don't know what. When would you say you sort of got in?
Oh, like in the space, you mean? Like, I mean,
Yeah, in the NFT space, I guess, because I mean, there's the introduction to crypto, and then there's the introduction to NFTs, and there's kind of two moments, I guess.
yeah, this might give it away. Like my first like mint, or not mint, my first purchase off a secondary was Koala Intelligent Agency, and it was like the worst buy ever, but I still remembered it. It was like it was a koala with like a McDonald's uniform on, and like I was like, oh, this is it, right? He had the sunglasses, and I probably faded.
Check it out right now.
I faded like so many other things, like mutants and stuff. I was like, this koala's it. And so I was in the space for a bit, but I fumbled a lot of stuff, man. So I don't really know if it matters. I've learned a lot, but I've been in and out.
I don't know when that one came to market, but I'm looking it up as well. The KIA.
That's it. Yeah.
Koala
Struggling.
Intelligence Agency. Oh my
Created
God.
August 2021. Okay, so yeah, you've been in like a full year longer than me, I think, because my first NFT was my Aliens collection, and that's August 2022 when they dropped.
That looks like something that came out on peak hype, was it?
Absolutely, yeah. For like 2 days,
Yeah.
it was like welcome to NFTs, Nick, and immediately just
13,000 fucking ETH volume. Oh my fucking God.
Those are the days, though. Like those are like.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Doesn't make any fucking sense. Where is this shit now?
On Struggle Street. not good.
They got the same floor as my Aliens as well, about 0.06. So I don't know. I saw like, you know how stressful these spaces can be, like trying to get everything on time and like jump in, and I was doing this massive thread about the Aliens. I think you liked one of them, so I think you might have seen it already. But
yeah, I did.
I was doing that, and I was like, my heart was racing. I was like, I got to get this done because it was my 8,888th tweet, and I like playing with the numbers like that because that's like me leaving my stamp. I was here doing things like just having fun with numbers, you know.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I saw that. That was great. I didn't have a chance to read all of it, but I was like, I knew you had pulled it off right before the spaces.
I was stressing, put it that way. But your the way like you talk about the professional learning network, like it's essentially, like you say, you've got people that you can leverage and ask for things, and we're all here to help each other. So the more that we do see it that way as a like professional network, as opposed to just a game where we're playing with art, like I think the further we can just grow.
And it helps like when you have like strong communities, right? Like you were just talking about your community. And I think the Dark Farms one really resonated with me because it was at a time where I had just went through the Luna UST stuff, and I was like, oh no. I got out like a couple of days too late, but not as late as some of my friends. Put most of it into NFTs. I was like, okay, this is safe. And then sure enough, like I bought a ton of smalls, had a great time like collecting. I had 16 smalls, I believe. And loved the Dark Farm stuff. And then one night, like right after like the OSF rec guy hype, like because there was a free mint a couple weeks prior, and there was a scammer account going around with 90,000 followers, and I fell for it like at 9 o'clock at night, like right before bed. I was like, oh, what the shit, another one? And I clicked it, and then immediately it drained my wallet. Yeah, it was rough. So I like most of my wallet at that time was like smalls, and when the community found out in the Discord, like I thought I was done. I thought I was out of the space, and they were just like the next day. So many people just reached out and they're like, "Yo, check your wallet. I airdropped you something," or they helped me like do meme card contests and stuff like that. And it was really really great. Dark Farms actually like tracked them down from like the scammer and bought like 6 of them back, and it was really, really special. And now that's when I realized,
so
like, oh,
nice.
wow. Yeah, right?
So
like,
nice,
that's community, right? Like, that's the PLN.
And these are the stories I like to listen because nobody is talking about that, They are all talking about the latest huge scam, but nobody's talking about the feel good stuff.
That's right. And it kept me in the space. Like, I mean, shout out to like Augur and That's Rafi, because those dudes were the first ones that were like, yo, I got you a deranged, I got you a small piece. And then they like ran contests, and I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know, I don't want to call it, but I'm pretty sure they cheated the contest so I'd win. Not even like a contest. It was more like to make me feel bad, not feel better. Like they didn't want to make it look too charitable. So, because like they knew I was in a dark spot, so they were just like, "Yo, man, like you had the best meme this week, so we gave you another one." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks, guys," But like clearly, they were just
Hey,
reaching out.
maybe you won now. I've seen some of your art, man. It's not bad. You got to rate yourself because I rate you.
Cheers, man. Like I love the memes, and that's another thing. Like they help you through the bear market, and that all of that stuff was like when we were before the hack, like we were just having good times making memes together. But after the hack, like they really showed up, right? And that was what was cool. That's I think when it turned into like from a professional learning network to like a Pepe learning network. Like I think that was the day. It was like boom,
Yeah, you find out who your real friends are.
Exactly. But what
That's
do
cool 'cause-
memes mean to you, man? As a meme creator, as a Pepe creator, as an artist, what do memes mean to you personally?
Mm. I mean, I think it's again. I think I love there's the historical aspect to it. So, and then there's layered jokes and depth to it. So it's kind of like a movie or a story where you get what you get, right? But someone could add as many references as they want, and if you're more in tune with what was going on at that time, you're more likely to like appreciate the meme. So I think that there's like significance there historically for culture, like preserving culture. I mean, think about like why South Park or Simpsons continue to go because they're just like memeing culture. So I think that's something that we don't look at as an art form yet, but eventually it'll happen. Like, we'll look at it as art, and we'll look at it as like just like when we go through a museum and we see the evolution of like the tape player, the CD, the iPod, right? And I think that's what we're going to see for digital art, right? And a whole new thing of art, a whole new style of expression. Does that make sense? Like that's what I would think.
It certainly makes sense. I think we have so much to play with. Like there's, like you say, like The Simpsons and other cartoons and TV shows that have done things in a way that have solidified their legacy. Like if we are smart with what we do here, you can find the things that you know are going to stand the test of time. And you can actually refer back to a lot of things that have already happened up until now in history and bring them back into the conversation because there are a lot of stories that have been concealed, so to say, or just forgotten. And mythology and like old stuff can come back, which is quite cool.
Yeah. And you know what? Like almost like memes are a form of protest in a way, right? Because they can be weaponized. I mean, think about Bob Dylan music. Like he's like one of my favorite artists, right? Like, and his songs are like so symbolic that like he could almost speak in code and protest about something. While on the surface, people are just listening to it and getting whatever, not the whole message. And I think memes allow you to do that, right? Like you can almost get away with like a satirical protest if you wanted to. Not all memes are protests, but you could definitely make change, right? Think about like what 6529 says, right? He's like it or not, like the swoosh from Nike was a meme. The Make America Great Again was a meme. Like those things win over policy papers or long, whatever, like elevator pitches,
I believe my friend Darwin, who was on week one of the show, actually wrote a bit about memes and the history of the word itself. Like everything to some degree is a bit of a meme. Like I walk around now and I see things and I'm like, meme. Like it's just stuff that is in our memory, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, I think. I mean, yeah, it's how we're organizing and making sense of culture, right? And transferring it like internationally. Yeah.
And I think that's where like I was actually talking to my mum about something similar today about like lyrics and how with hip hop artists you can't, like my favorite style of music is hip hop because you have to listen to it carefully to hear what they're saying. And the same as what you were saying about Bob Dylan, like there can be a lot of subliminal messages that nobody's picking up on, but you are, and that's kind of cool. And you can do the same thing with memes. Like your art has like layers and layers of different memes. Like the art that you made for Red Lion this week had previous week's memes in it, and your 6x9 collection is like memes on memes, if you know what I mean. And it's just it all builds. It's like Lego bricks.
Yeah, it is like Lego bricks. Yeah, and I think that's what, again, that kind of solidifies the timestamp in the culture too, right? Because eventually that train or whatever is going to pass, and there'll be a whole nother appreciation for something, but that will we'll still be able to go back and see that timeline and see how the inception of that. And what's interesting is like all these open editions, right? Like what's that going to look like in a year's time with all these great artists who are dropping stuff, right? Like even like the fake memes that, you know, I got in on, and then I was just like, oh, that shit. Like I woke up today, now there's like the mooning and all this other stuff happening. And so it's hard to keep up, but it's just such a cool time right now to learn and to educate others too, because it all comes around. Like just like that, they talk about it like Steve Jobs talks about it, right? He says these water cooler talks. Like not at the office do you get a lot done with each other, but you get like shit done at those little tiny moments at the water cooler when you're just like shooting the shit or in the flow, you know? And that's kind of what we get in also spaces and all of this stuff, right?
Yeah, certainly. And you can feel like you can work through people and sort of understand who is adding value and who you're adding value to and whatnot. Like you get out what you put in, right? Like there's so much to learn, and there's so many of these open editions that just to try and keep up with it, you need to follow people who are keeping up with subsects so that you can keep up with more than what you could do possibly by yourself. And that the beauty of the algorithm is you just keep finding what you need to find, and we are so far ahead of society in that sense that it's kind of scary. Like, and we know about AI, you know, like we actually study this stuff. We actually pay attention to what's happening and how these things are going to work and how we can actually make them work for us. So the opportunity at the moment is, or to learn at least through the art, is quite incredible.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think like, again, I work in the international education industry, and we in the NFT crypto space, we're talking about ChatGPT much longer than it was finally introduced over here. Like, and I mean introduced in terms of like into my like educated network, where now they're like, hey, have you seen this? It could have helped with reports. And it's like, Jesus, you know, like I would have been like that. I would have been one of those like lagging indicators if I wasn't doing the stuff like that I'm doing right on the side, like to keep my finger on the pulse of innovation and technology, because you know, like we're always finding inspiration from different forms of like art or tech or artists or, you know, whatever. And I think that's what keeps everybody here, you know, because there's so much happening at once. Like we're all just like, yeah, I don't know. But yeah,
that's definitely the pro side, and what you mentioned before about having things go missing and some dodgy actors out there is the downside. But it's cool to hear also, like you were saying before, like stories of redemption within communities. And I see Viva's in the chat. I've seen we saw someone else go through something similar, and Viva like put his hand up and said, "Yo, I got you, man. I'm going to send you a few more swimmers because nobody deserves to lose them like that." Like, and there was a big one today, Kevin Rose. I don't know if you saw.
no, not yet. No, I didn't.
Kevin Rose got done for a lot. He lost a bunch of Chromie Squiggles, and I think it was millions of dollars worth that have gone out the door. So
Yeah,
I don't know
like
what happened
25
exactly, but
squiggles, notably a bunch of high value assets. It's pretty sad to see, man. Heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's
I was
terrible.
talking to my mum about this as well, and I said to her, like, it's rough, but like it has been seen that the communities have rallied and we look after each other. So at the end of the day, like, we just got to keep learning from it. We just got to keep trying to be better and try and build tools that actually make this impossible for them, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's what I kind of think the bear market allows us to do, is kind of like cancel a bit of noise out and just stick around with the people who really want to be here, right? I mean, liquidity and scammers kind of come hand in hand, and when it dries up, the people who really want to contribute to the space are still here. And I think that's part of my vetting system, at least. I mean, not fully, right? Like you have to still keep an eye out, right? Especially when something takes off, like the memes or other things or multiple derivatives. You know, you just have to be careful with certain rugs or certain promises. You know, but I think overall, yeah, that helps for vetting because they're still here. They're still showing up every day, right? They're like Dark Farms. You know, like Dark Farms is making us laugh every day. Like, how great is that? You know, it's just I just think that kind of stuff is what keeps you around. This is what kept me around.
Yeah, since you mentioned Dark Farms, so your first NFT was Koala Intelligence, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how did you get into Smalls? When did you find them? And what are some of the communities you really enjoy to interact with?
Right. Okay, cool. Um, so so yeah, I found the Smalls from just like one of those like NFT tracker sites, like the day after the mint. And so I had a bunch, and I even had a shattered Small, which I didn't know eventually would be the Grail. But I flipped it like the next day, and I was like, what's going on here? And I just saw like a lot of volume, and then like all these like really funny things, and I was like, this is perfect because it's right after the speaking of Kevin Rose, like it's right after the Moonbirds. It was pixelated Moonberg-esque Pepe art, and I just was like, okay, this is gonna take off. Like this is fucking memeage at its finest, right? And I still stand by it. I think like the Smalls were the goblins before goblins, right? And they didn't even try to be. Like they were just like that's what like Kevin was, right? Like that's what they all were. And it was so funny. I realized there was no royalties. Like Dark Farms was doing that, like before others. Like there was like for the deranged. No, sorry, but there was none for deranged. Maybe there was a very small percentage of royalties, but I immediately jumped into Discord. I just like met like a lot of really cool people in there, and started collecting a ton. Yeah, and I think like overall, I felt like that because like a lot of there was no hype, right? It was like we're not promising anything. All these other communities, even a lot of anime ones, popped up around the same time, and they were like pumping and dumping. And I just felt like the Dark Farms community was like a really good way to like kind of just meet cool people who want to ride it out and make memes. And actually, it's what kickstarted me into wanting to do open editions because like so many talented people came out of there. Like Bats was like a small maxi, like, and so many people like That's Raffi is great at photography. Augur does good music. We've seen a lot of really cool people come out and like collaborate with like the Kekwin series, and I don't know. I just think like it's an underrated community, loads of talent, and very nice people. So yeah, that was my journey, like end to end. It just kind of came into like existence because they show up, they make people laugh, and those kind of people, yeah, you can rely on.
Yeah, Dark Farms has a very distinctive aesthetic. I like it. I also hold more than 10 smalls across my wallet, so I support the project and I really
Nice.
enjoy it. But what other communities you really enjoy to interact with, and what communities have you
Mm,
joined and
yeah.
impressed you?
Yeah. Right. I mean, okay, so like I'd say like a long time ago, I was in the Wicked Craniums community for a while, and they were like around, for from the beginning too. Like, but like, and I have friends who faded apes and got a bunch of craniums, and they're still holding. But they were neat because like they were trying to be different, and what they evolved into over time after they didn't have much success, but they evolved into like a music NFT where they, to me, were one of the first to promise something and deliver about like if you have our Wicked Cranium NFT, then you can go to like 26 different concerts throughout a
I
year
have
in like
so many
10
wicked
countries.
craniums.
Yeah. Right. So I just dug their vibe, and they were just like they're just like they're yeah, I liked it. They were
Yeah, I
cool.
was minting them, but it looks like they never fulfilled their full potential. But it's still a
Right?
really, really good project, and
Yeah.
they're still keeping up community. They still show up. I think it's cool. It's a cool one for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the connecting tissue between the two, like Smalls and Wicked Craniums. Although they're way different, but they're both like resilient dudes that are just like fuck it, let's party or like let's meme, and that was kind of why. There's so many that I like popped in and out of that are just kind of like okay, whatever. Like I had a mutant for a while, and that was cool, a mutant ape, but then I like sold it at a time when I had to sell it, and that was okay. But I just think like where we are now in the space, I think we hopefully are like seeing like a whole new resurgence of like just art and not and small additions and other ways like game theory and gamification, and not so many like PFP collections like we saw in 2021. I mean, like if Quala Intelligence Agency can get 13,000 ETH, and that's not, I don't know if that's coming back, right? And I think that's where like the communities, a lot of them who didn't have that resilience that Smalls had or Wikicraniums had, like they didn't make it, right? They just faded away, or now they're all in the hidden folder.
Yeah, for sure. What would you like to see more in this space, and what would you like to see less?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I less scammers, definitely. Like if we, and maybe this goes hand in hand. If we could have more communities, like not like a neighborhood watch or a hall monitor, but like more communities that help people, like almost like a firewall. Like if we could become like a community of people who want to support and people who we're trying to onboard and educate them so that they avoid these scams, they don't fall into these same like pitfalls that like almost we all did, like almost all of us did. I don't know, that I think hand in hand goes, like it's like if we could stop the scammers by like starting communities, not with the intention of like even like making a DAO or anything wild or burning anything, but there'll be something that I feel like it's good karma. Like there'll be something good that comes from it, I think.
I think there's like you said, like we're not gonna just buy into 10K profile picture collections anymore. That kind of hype has been and gone, but there will still be some new ones perhaps that come in that are promising something different and something new. And I think we're at a point now where we need to actually broadcast. Like if there is new things dropping, like we need to collectively market and work together as a team to actually sell our ideas, because one person's 10K collection is not going to sell out by itself, I think. But there may still be some new stuff coming. And then also like the 100, like I'm in the Round Shades friend collection, that's my profile picture, and there's only 100 of us, or 99 I think. So perhaps those like small collections that get people to make like tight knit communities instead of big giant ones might actually flourish.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. And I think that's what it's going to be. It's going to be community driven, and like everything is transparent up front. And yeah, I mean that's the like the maturation of this space. And I'm happy to be here. I'm super like grateful to like have this opportunity to be around you guys and learn from all of you guys. I mean, like Vandal, like I have like some swim team members on the squad, and I'm just like, it's so cool to like even rub elbows with all this much talent, right? Like that enough is why we wake up, or at least why I wake up in GM, because you just like you get inspired and you get motivated, and you just people are producing. Like you surround yourself by creators, and the algorithm, like you said earlier, right, works for you. And yeah, I appreciate the daily curation.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, I mean, bringing you in here as well and actually getting people to hear your voice. And I'm talking on one side to everybody for 7 weeks, but we're going to have another curator who comes in and it'll be their turn to have the light and to share the light with someone else, and like just getting that more formal connection with one another, as opposed to just in DMs or just sending each other links to cool art and stuff. We're progressing it organically, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I agree.
Yeah, and also, sorry to jump in, let me say thank you, everybody, for showing up and listening. We see you down there. Much love. If you have any questions or you want to jump in the conversation, just raise your hand and we will pass on the mic.
Yeah, for sure. In the meantime, Nick, I guess you could take us through the art that you've created, because it's pretty cool, and it is.
Oh yeah.
We went back and forth on it a couple of times. Like,
yeah, sure. Yeah, so I mean, it's a Pepe, obviously Pepe themed, right? It talks a bit about the resilience of like, I mean, it's symbolic, right? It's about like just taking it one step at a time, one day at a time. I mentioned before that there were times where I wanted to walk away from the space, and there were certain things like that brought me back, right?
Does it feel one step forward, 2 steps backwards sometimes?
Yeah, no, for sure, absolutely. But yeah, no, that's what I thought like to go with. And like leaning into the network. I have like good mates who are just super talented, and like I ping-ponging ideas, right? Using people as sounding boards and trying to also just like iterate, right? Like what I do at my job is like we focus on like design thinking. Like that's the methodology that we teach at this startup, right? So like we're super okay with like throwing something out to somebody and like, hey man, tell me if this sucks, you know, and like tell me if like I shat the bed, and they give feedback back and they're like, no, it's good, or I'm gonna change this, and there's like no ego involved. Like you try not to have ego involved. So I think like what I don't even really consider myself an artist, right? I just think of it as like a collaborator and like someone who has and like a dot connector, right? Like someone who's just connecting dots and putting things together. And I'll send it out to my friend Jeff, who's like super talented, and he'll be like, yo, like speed this up and let me try to put this in it and do this. And I'm like, okay. And I'll send it like to like you know, and you're like, yo, like slow it into this and try to loop it. And I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. And it was just like I think it's something where going again, like I can't do this on my own. I'm not like super talented in like all of these different aspects all the time. But I have like an opportunity to connect dots and to leverage my network and be like, hey guys, like how's this? And my friend Jeff has just been there for like from the very beginning. Like he's helped like for like emotional support and just like as like a way of like saying like, yo, like try this as an open edition. And he's made open editions like with me, and he's a wicked cranium. He didn't show me the koalas, but he's the dude who got me into this space. And so I think it's like having friends like that you like I've met him in real life and stuff too, like and like we've taught together at the same international school. Like having friends that you trust to share your work with, and you know you're not going to get scammed or like kind of like duped. That really helps. So I think looking at like what I'm doing is I'm like just layering different dots and trying to reach as many communities as possible that I like. You know what I mean? Like in a way of like paying homage to all of them.
Yeah, definitely. I talked about it in the article as a bit of a pilgrimage, because we're sort of walking up a hill together, and it's the way that you've depicted it. I think is so cool. I've dropped it in the thread under the space, and the way it plays on Twitter as well, as even as an MP4, how it just loops itself like a GIF would, but with the sound. Like that's where the GIF is usually a bit of a letdown because you can't have audio with it. So that kind of stuff, working through that stuff with people and like learning about the file sizes and types and what's possible. And Redline have got their own version of IPS up, so IPFS up, so there's like a lot of things are possible.
Maybe we should explain a little bit the format and how the whole thing works and how's it happen.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, like.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, the Gazette is a weekly open mint. It costs $25 in ETH, and you get a wonderful cover of the magazine, which summarizes all the weekly historic events and all the weekly history of NFTs and crypto or world events. We just create a beautiful artwork, paying tribute to different art styles and art forms. And by purchasing that, you are also entitled to claim what we call the art drop, what we are doing here today, which is a free artwork by amazing artists such as Nick that we have over here. And not only that, it's not a random artist every week, but we have wonderful curators such as Silori, who is curating his Push and P collection. So for the span of 7 weeks since the year started, he presents a different artist every week under a concise theme, which is Pepe art. So for the previous 2 weeks and the next 4 weeks, we are highlighting some amazing Pepe creators, and it's creating a nice curated collection in your wallet that is also browsable by trades, because the curator also goes in as a trade and the artist, so you can and the collection, sorry, and you can browse them all as tiny little subsets. So yeah, this is what we do, and if you're more interested to find out more, check us out, redlion.red, gazette.red. It's a cool ecosystem.
Yeah, and there's certainly more coming too, isn't there?
For sure, and I'm excited. And thank you, Nick, for for doing this art drop with us. And the artwork is really, really cool. I enjoyed it a lot.
Cheers, man. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I mean, it was great to kind of just work with you guys and be a part of this. And I'm certainly like I'm hooked now. I mean, I'm looking forward to next week. I got last week's, which was dope. Also, so shout out to the Kobe one. But I think what you're doing is super cool. I wish I would have known about it much sooner. But yeah, I think it's something very important. I mean, like what you're doing in this space and how you're helping people and educating people and just giving them a place to be, right? And to write or to express themselves. And yeah, man, like kudos to you guys. I'm rooting for you all. And I hope this is just the beginning for all of us, right?
Thank you so much. Yeah, well, it's an exciting space, and yeah, we're definitely trying hard, and let's see where that takes us. For sure.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for collabing.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you everybody for tuning in, yeah.
Hmm.
Definitely, I'm quite excited to see like the entire collection, the 7 pieces, all up there together in their own sort of, I mean, searchable by curator. And then I'm sure as time goes on, I'll end up creating works myself because I'm a little bit of
Nice.
both. I do the curation, but I do like creating too. I think everybody who gets in this space ends up creating something because it's just too hard not to, I think. But
And so
I'll
many
be sending things
artists.
out to people who collect my curated lineup for sure.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
so many artists, man, that we collaborated with and we had fun and co-created with. Later on, you see all the time, oh, thank you for everything, and sorry, thank you for accepting me on Super Rare, and they go and have very big careers afterwards, and yeah, we know how to pick them, and it's amazing to work with people and you see their development afterwards and how it all works. So we're very excited to be able to be part of all of that and contribute with our art and our work into everyone's journey through the space and doing what we do here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. I mean, 100%. Thanks, you guys. I'm like super humbled and very grateful. I hope that we can all chat again and give each other follows and just keep in touch. Keep moving one pep at a time, right?
One pep at a
One bit
time
at a
for sure.
time. Thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with us. Is there nobody that wanted to come up and ask a question before we go?
I don't think we have any hands before we go, but check it out. I have a dentist appointment in 15 minutes, so if you guys keep going, I will be listening in silence and pain.
Cody, turn me. Cody, turn me
I
up.
hate the dentist, man.
Got me right.
We'll call it there and we'll let Redline play us out.
All right, so I don't think we got anybody else. Thank you everyone for tuning in. It was excellent. Thank you, Silori, for hosting. Thank you, Nick, for working with us. If you are curious about what we do and you want to meet more new artists and check out something different and something cool in the space, check out Red Lion. Have a wonderful day and see you again later on because we have another one coming up.
Yeah, we'll see you next week with Espresso, who's here with us at the moment.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you. See ya.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
day. Bye bye.